to Eve, thanks to Joe, thanks to everybody. How's Natasha? Are you in good form despite the rain? Yes. The recession? All those bad things. Here in this place, people try to do good things. That's what community does. Community is about trying to do good things. It's about seeing problems. It's about deciding that if the problems are going to be solved, somebody's going to have to step up, week in, week out, turn up, and start getting organised. And that's what happened here 30 years ago. 30 years ago, with the deaths and the devastation that was wreaked on this community by drugs, it would have been just the easiest thing in the world for people just to look at the problem and say, there's a big problem there, but somebody else is going to have to solve it. But that isn't what happened here. People here made it their business, their responsibility, and here we are 30 years later. On a day when we gather, there are sad memories under this roof, there are sad memories in people's hearts, but there are also good memories. There are also good stories to be told. We've just come up through a fabulous exhibition. It's quite appropriately entitled. It is amazing. It's an amazing exhibition. Exhibition of talent, an exhibition of statement, an exhibition of what is possible when people get a chance and when people have the opportunity to showcase what's truly inside them. There's just some amazing things here. There are some amazing things to be seen. But it just occurs to me, I was asked to plant a rose downstairs, because the rose is one of the great themes, of course, of the 30 years really of Ballymun Youth Action. The rose is a very interesting metaphor in many ways, because you could say that, well, first of all, it's thorny. It's beautiful, but there's the thorns. So
lovely smell of it.
yeah, lovely smell as well. Yeah, there's the gorgeous scent. You get the lovely scent, you get the gorgeous colours, you get the gorgeous blooms, but if you want to pick it, you've got to wrestle with the thorns. You've got to be careful, yeah. And you've also got to be careful with it for another way. I mean, it needs the rain, it needs good treatment, it needs to be cared for, it needs to be pruned, it needs to be looked after, if it's going to grow to the best that it can. And yet, the funny thing about it is, anybody who's ever grown plants will know. The best example I can give is at my grandfather's house. There's an old, it's a cordyline, the palm tree type thing, and it looks a bit odd, all right, stuck in the middle of Garden, County Roscommon. It's not exactly natural to the landscape, but the first way back in 1982, do you remember that rotten winter of 1982? Yeah. We arrived down to the cottage to discover that it was dead. It had just not survived the winter. And my husband took a saw and he cut it to about a foot off the ground. And I said, look, we weren't down for very long, we hadn't time to dig it out. And I said, well, you know what, when we come back down the next time, we'll dig out the roots. But actually, when we came back the next time, there were 6 amazing young new shoots growing up from it. So sometimes, even when you're ready to give up, if you give up, you miss this amazing, miraculous chance to see life renew itself, the wonder of change, the wonder of rebirth. And that's what is believed in this place, that no matter what has overwhelmed a life, no matter what drugs have robbed a teenager of those valuable years, no matter what a mess or chaos a life has descended into, no matter what things have overwhelmed it, no matter how many people have given up on the person, here in this place they won't be given up on, because there is a belief, there's just that belief that if you stay around, if you try hard enough, often enough, that you will actually see change, you'll see rebirth, you'll see regrowth, you'll see people able to make their lives as whole again as they can. And that's what this place has been about. It's the faith in that has kept it going for 30 years. I mean, if we thought for one moment that there was no hope, that if a life is overwhelmed by drugs, it's just over and that's the beginning, middle and end of it, it's going to settle into chaos and it's going to wreak chaos, well, we wouldn't be here. And this project was bad days, but the important thing is that it kept faith with this for the last 30 years, and it did what you said, it's community. It's a bunch of volunteers who got together. Nobody had to do it. There was no law commanding them to do it, except that law that says we can't walk away from our responsibility. That's what community means. When we talk about community, we mean com, meaning together, and then munera, meaning responsibility or duty. Our responsibility to each other. Otherwise, if we don't do that, if somebody doesn't step up and create and sustain these organisations, we have a bunch of strangers living here and living all around the country, a bunch of strangers who don't care about each other, who don't care about each other's lives and don't invest in each other's lives day in most of our minds, since we hear St. Patrick's Day, we think, mad, giddy hats and parades and green beer and, the usual. But actually, if you just concentrate on the man for a moment, that man who lived a really dreadful life and who was trafficked, he was a child who was trafficked as a slave. We would call it, that's what we would call it nowadays. He was trafficked, kidnapped, his young years taken away from him by these awful predators. And the only thing they saw in him when they took him, they just saw him as something they could make money out of. That's all he was to them. He wasn't human, he wasn't a person, he had no dignity, they had no respect for him. He was just somebody whose life they could rob in order to put money in their pockets. If you move forward to today, that's the source of our heroin problem, that's the source of all our problems, the source of our cocaine problem. People who think that those whom they persuade, however they do it, to use and to take drugs and to become addicted to drugs, at the end of the day, take it right back to its source. That's how they regard us, as people who are just people out of whom they can make money, people with no dignity, people whom they have no respect for, people whom they have no care for. But their families care for them, their community care for them, we care for them, because they're our brothers, they're our sisters, they're our neighbours, they're our citizens, they're our friends, and we believe in them. We believe in them sometimes when they don't even believe in themselves. And we believe that they're worthy of much better than being regarded just as people you make money out of. Things you make money out of at the cost of their lives, robbing their lives. And I think that's maybe what this place focuses on in a way when we come into St. Patrick's Week next week and we think of St. Patrick. It's not about the green funny hats in this place. It's about making sure that at the end of the day the dignity of the person triumphs. The love of the person triumphs. And this place I think it's a place where love triumphs, for support, help for families, help for friends, help for community. It's where we all get together. Individually, maybe what we're able to do is limited, but what we're able to do together is not limited. It's extraordinary. And over these 30 years, you're entitled, I think, to take great pride in what has been accomplished here. The very fact that this organisation has survived, has grown, has sustained, has become very sophisticated, has become very knowledgeable about the problems it's dealing with, has a huge range now of resources, a huge range of insights, a lot of wisdom and experience now. Now people here are an awful lot wiser. They know the enemy they're dealing with an awful lot better, and they are much, much better at tackling that enemy. That enemy that would reduce the human person to nothing, rob them of life, rob them of health, rob them of a future. And what you want here is a good life, a good future, a place where people are genuinely loved. God bless you. Thank you, Hannah.